The KwaZulu-Natal government will ask national government to declare the province a national disaster.
Billions will be required to rebuild the province from this catastrophe. It is against this background that at a meeting this morning, the provincial government resolved to ask the national government to consider a review and perhaps investigate whether this disaster should not be declared as a national disaster. We say this with humility and understanding that our president and ministers have been the first on the ground with us, and in surveying the damage they have witnessed, the level of required response. We remain grateful for the speed with which the disaster was declared, and we can assure the nation that we are doing our part to ensure that we cushion the people from the worst conditions they've been subjected to. We are mindful of the fact that most of our citizens are recovering from the post-traumatic stress related to this disaster. The magnitude of this disaster is overwhelming to all who care. It is against this background that we need to act with speed in recovery and removing all hindrances, including containers that lies on the road, as they remain a grim reminder of devastation. This must be our moment of kauleza in word and in deed. We should be a nation that places a high premium on doing things efficiently and effectively and acting with agility to rise to the occasion when the situation demands. After all, we are a nation that is forged in crucibles of struggles, and no amount of human sufferings should dim the hope of a better life and a better future for all of us. For this hope to be sustained, we must act now and act as one nation and in the best interest of our country and humanity as a whole. In terms of the search and rescue mission, the current inclement weather has slowed our assessment and rescue operations on the ground. But we are once again back in the full swing. As of this morning, KwaZulu-Natal received 38 call-outs, and on the scenes that were attended, 6 bodies were recovered. We stand at approximately 63 persons missing or unaccounted for. The death toll now stands at 443. We wish to convey our heartfelt condolences and sympathy to the people and the families of one of our search and rescue team member who was busy doing search and rescue at Helen Dam. He experienced difficult breathing and was airlifted to the Mediclinic Hospital and unfortunately passed away. May his soul rest in peace. The South African Police Services have also deployed a contingent of personnel to ensure safety and apprehend a criminal element that may attempt to use the tragedy to pursue criminal activities. We wish to discourage people to get involved in any criminal activity, especially at a time when the focus must be on saving lives and rebuilding our beautiful province. The total number of rescue team or personnel is 185. With regard to water, a number of areas experience water disruption. A war room has been established comprising of eThekwini, Umngeni Water, the Department of Water and Sanitation, Human Settlement and Roads, and a plan to restore services is being implemented.
Right, let's go to our reporter Ayana Mhlongo. She attended that briefing. A very good evening to Ayana. Just tell us more about what emerged from what the Premier was saying.
Yeah, very good evening to Nzinga and good evening to our viewers at home. Well, the Premier giving a comprehensive report on the assessment that the government has done so far in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, of course largely focused here in the eThekwini, as we know that the metro has been the worst affected by the disaster, with the majority of deaths, over 300 just here in the eThekwini municipality alone, and over 40,000 people that have been displaced. And Dinga, just to quickly go through the numbers as we were given by the Premier, that the death toll in the province as a result of these floods now stands at 443. Of course, also saying that 63 people remain missing or unaccounted for. 6 bodies today were recovered by the rescue teams, and they had 38 call outs to different locations across the eThekwini metro, and of course some of the other affected districts, as we know that it's not just the eThekwini metro, but there are several other districts including Ilembe, Ugu, Mkungundlovu and the King Cetshwayo district. Of course, the Premier also saying that this morning there was a special cabinet meeting in which a cabinet has resolved to request from the national government that they reconsider the state of disaster to be declared as a national state of disaster. And the Premier there in his explanation saying that this will allow for additional resources to be allocated to the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and also then this could mean that more departments could come in to provide assistance. We know that the ministers that have been in the province, we saw the Minister of Human Settlement, she was in the province, and the Department of Human Settlements has already allocated 1 billion rand towards housing. With the Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula, he has been in the province for a few days. Again, he was today in monitoring or assessing the damage in the Ilembe district. The Minister of Small Business was also here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and the Minister of Cooperative Governance. And so the Cabinet of KwaZulu-Natal feeling that if more departments are then brought on board, they can then assist with the extent of the damage. The Premier saying that they so far estimate the damage to be in the region of 5.6 billion rand, and of course that will be in counting, Zinga. They are still continuing with the assessments. There are still areas where the assessment teams have not been able to reach, and so this is just an estimate that the province is providing at this moment. Of course, in Zinga, we've been reporting about the extensive damage to infrastructure, roads, to reservoir and water plants, and the Premier there saying that the maintenance teams are on the ground trying to restore water to many of the affected areas. In fact, saying that there are 179 water tankers that have been distributed to the affected areas. There's still areas now, it's day 6 now, that have been without water, and the municipality has also explained that some of the challenges for them has been due to the fact that the roads are damaged, and so many of the water tankers have been unable to reach those areas. But aid organizations, we know that water in some areas has been, although in smaller amounts, but flown in with the helicopters that are also delivering relief to areas that have been cut off. Other important points or areas rather that were raised by the Premier in terms of what the situation is currently is the hospitals. We know that 58 hospitals were affected by the floods. The Premier saying most of those hospitals, the situation now, or the issues and the challenges that those hospitals had have been resolved, but what they have requested from the health department is that mobile clinics be put up in certain areas, and this for people to be able to access health care. The other point also, and Nzinga and my colleague Bongani Gema was on the story today, was the mortuaries. We had 2 mortuaries in the city of Durban, and those mortuaries have also are up to capacity now in terms of the number of bodies that they have. The Premier saying that additional doctors have been called, additional pathologists have been called in to assist, 7 in fact, and at the moment they feel that they are under control. 243 postmortems have been concluded at this point. Another issue is with regards to schools and education. 551 schools have been damaged in the province. The education officials are still out assessing damage in those areas. 98 schools will need mobile classrooms. The assessment is going to, of course, continue there as well, because the other challenge with schools in Nzinga is that many schools have been open or are being used as shelters, and so at the moment, without any alternative accommodation for the people that have been displaced, that is going to be another challenge, where some schools have not been damaged. However, it's going to be difficult for learning and teaching to continue, as those schools are also temporary shelters. But the Deputy Mayor of eThekwini saying that that's a plan that they're working on currently to try and find alternative accommodation. They are seeking open space, open land, where they're going to immediately build a temporary shelter. But just looking at the numbers of people, over 40,000 Nzinga people that have been displaced, and more coming through, to also say that their homes may not have been washed away, but there's extensive damage to people's properties, and so they then are in need of a shelter. Of course, they also mentioned that what is going to be critical for government at the moment is part of the relief, but also to ensure that people in low-lying areas, that evacuation starts and that people are removed from those areas. But the Premier thanking people who have come forward to assist, especially the rescue teams that have come from other provinces. There are teams, in fact, as we speak, that are on their way to come and assist in the rescue missions of those people that are still missing, and those that are in areas that they have not been able to access. Nzinga?
Ayanda Mhlongo giving us an update from KwaZulu-Natal there. Thanks, Ayanda, for that wrap of the Premier's statement a little bit earlier on.